On 24th of October, 11:53 a.m., the Old Bailey, Defendant's Antechamber. Ah, the Knight Errant himself. Oh, have you been watching from the gallery, Mr. Sholmes? I've been on the edge of my seat the entire time. Courtroom trials are fascinating affairs, as a spectator at least. I'm glad you've been enjoying yourself. I have to ask. What on earth is going on? It makes no sense. What's this professor business all about? He doesn't look any professor like I've ever seen met before. Who even is he? Ah, of course. You were in Germany already 10 years ago. Yes, the professor. When I discovered he was the one who had been abducted, a sense of foreboding stirred within me. But who knew the monster would come knocking at your door? My heartfelt sympathies. As it turns out, Lord Van Zykes is even more intimately tied to this case than any of us realized, isn't he? Yes, how true. His great friend from university in the dock. And now a waxwork of the killer who took his esteemed brother's life makes an appearance too. I imagine even the shrewd Mr. Reaper failed to foresee that kick in the teeth. Extraordinary move on your part, my dear fellow, to throw that in front of the man. You make it sound deliberate. I can't help feeling that this professor case is really very puzzling. Oh yes? In what particular manner? Well, there's Mr. Drebber, Dr. Sive, and Lord Van Zykes. Seems that everybody in the trial has a link to the case somehow. Yes. In fact, I, alone, am not a member of the set. Though that leaves me as an empty set, all alone, with no intersection of any other. Excuse me? Dr. Scythe! Oh crap. Ah, Dr. Courtney Scythe, nay Stevens. Good day to you. Hello, Sholmes. That was very shrewd of you. What in particular, pray? You requested that 10-year-old autopsy report from Gregson, didn't you? Why would you assume such a thing? Because Gregson told me. Ah, shit. To think it's been 10 years. 10 years in the laboratory, wielding my scalpel. I smell of nothing but corpses and disinfectant. A policeman on the jury had a lot to say about you as it happens, Dr. Scythe. And I've accused you of being complicit in what happened. I'm hoping that you'll take the stand and tell the truth about what really happened. That certainly won't be possible. Oh? Lord Van Zykes won't be summoning me as a witness. Lord Strongheart has forbidden it. Can't we do that, though? Lord Strongheart? The Pandora's box you were warned about is the Professor case. Please don't make the mistake of thinking you'll get any information about it out of me. But attempting to hide from the truth, that's cowardice. I have always fought crime in the way that I see fit. I have no regrets, none at all. And that's all I came here to say. So, good day to you. She mentioned it too. This Pandora's box. Whatever does it all mean? There's really no cause for concern. I assure you, when the trial resumes, the meaning will become all too apparent. Whether you'd like it or not. Huh? Now then, I believe it's almost time. I must make my way back to the public gallery. The edge of my seat waits. I think maybe you're enjoying yourself a little too much. Ah, yes, one word of warning before I go. If, in the course of the trial this afternoon, you perceive even a shadow of doubt about the truth, don't let it out of your sight. Pursue it like a dog with a bone. Or a hound. To the bitter end, you understand. Do not falter, whatever may come to pass. Alright. I understand. Thank you. Good. I shall make myself scarce then. Alright. I purchased a bar of caramel earlier, so I shall be gnawing on that as you gnaw away at the truth. Caramel is a word for me at the moment. It's hilarious because of Sarah is the best way of putting it. Like, and she had, and she still does when she thinks about it, a very American pronunciation of caramel. I'm not saying like one's wrong or right. Don't worry about that. I'm not going that route. It's just, you know, we have different pronunciations of these things, and she says it a certain way. But when you catch her off guard and she says caramel, it's that case of like, I'm influencing her way of speaking as well. She has a slight mix. And it's one of the things where it's like, if I think about it, I can't duplicate it. So it's like, you hear her offhandedly say it in a British-American mix. And it's very interesting. It's very, very, very interesting is the best way of putting it. Anyway. Again, if you get her to say it, she'll think about it. And if she thinks about it, she'll say it the way she did previously. But if you just catch it offhandedly, like how you do with me, if you try and catch me, it's like I will say stuff Americanese-ish. Is that even a term? I don't know. But if you tell me, like, say this word, I'll think about it in the context of me being me, British, all that type of stuff. It's like, you need the offhanded nature. The almost muscle, what's the equivalent of muscle memory, but with words? I don't know. Like that kind of just, boom, you don't think about it, it just comes out intuitively. I think that's the word I'm going for. That's how you need to catch it, and it's interesting. Interesting how mine and Sarah's accents and way of speaking are just merging in such odd ways. Anyway, what did that warning from Mr. Schlomes really mean, I wonder? Especially the bit about whatever may come to pass. Yeah. It's time for the final chapter then. I'm determined to find the truth. No matter what. Reach out for the truth. The 24th of October, 12:40 p.m. That was close in that time. The Old Bailey courtroom. I've still got that in the middle. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby reconvene the proceedings of this court. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready and able to continue? The prosecution is ready, my lord. Yes, my lord. The defense is also ready. As the court is aware, the case under our scrutiny began with a damaging incident at the Great Exhibition. Yet we now find ourselves embroiled in the details of a convicted felon who was sent to the gallows a decade ago. This trial has certainly defied all expectation, as seems to be the fate of all trials in which this Nipponese is involved, my lord. Hey, can't argue with the results, though. So then, let us begin our exploration of the defense's assertion that the Waxwork was ardently involved in this matter. Lord Van Zyghes? My lord. Are we still awaiting the arrival of Madame Tusspell? Not at all. She is in the antechamber as we speak and ready to be summoned. Very well. Bring in the witness at once, my lord. Bailiff, show Madame Tusspell to the stand. Things are about to become a lot more intense. If Trevor is responsible, as I'm sure he is, it means he must have had an accomplice in Dr. Scythe. And what connects the pair of them is the waxwork. Yes, the model of the professor. That's the key to the link between these otherwise unrelated individuals. It's a tenuous link, admittedly, but at present it's all we have to go on. We are aware who that was, yeah? State your name and occupation for the court, please. Like, look at him there. My name is Madame Esmeralda Tusspell. I'm a waxwork artisan and the proprietress of the Madame Tusspell's Museum of Waxworks. You will have to pardon me for working as I testify. My new exhibit must open very soon. Yep. Oh, so he finally gets a statue, does he? Ah, there are 2 of them in the world. Oh my, what expression is she carving onto the face? A number of days ago, a particular waxwork model was stolen from your museum. Can you confirm this? Oui, that is true. At first, we believed it had been kidnapped. A waxwork model? Kidnapped? Yes, my lord. There has been a demand for ransom money left behind by the culprit. However, according to what I have just been told outside the courtroom, then that was not the true reason. I understand it was utilized as a substitute for the body of a murder victim. At present, that is no more than conjecture proposed by the defense. This is the victim of the case in question, Mr. Oriasman. But of course, I know him well. He is a part of my odious personages exhibit. I detest to say what is evident, but Mr. Asmund does not resemble the professor at all. Yes, but perhaps their faces are very similar. Are you suggesting that we should see now the demasked visage of the professor? I have here the key, but it is strictly forbidden to open the lock. This is absurd. Pardon? I don't know what face you carved onto your fancy figure beneath the mask. But clearly it won't be that of the actual killer. I imagine it's going to be your brother or something. Indeed. The man's identity was never made public after all. The trial took place in a closed court. The proceedings were strictly confidential. The condemned man was summarily executed. His identity remains a closely guarded national secret. There is no possible way that a repository of torture exhibits could get its hands on that information. Quel dommage. French words. It would seem you are unaware of the Tusspell's principles. What principles? The family Tusspells has always prided itself on sculpting its models à la perfection. Every detail, including the visage, is fashioned with complete fidelity. Et voilà, our principles. There is a well-known legend about the Tusspell's waxworks from the time of the French Revolution. A member of the Tusspell's family is said to have made a waxwork of the Queen, who was executed. Oui, that is true. It was a century ago now. I believe the Queen's face was carved in the minutes following her death, actually at the guillotine site. You are correct. The model is on display still today in the House of Horrors. We Tusspells will stop at nothing to obtain a faithful replica of our subjects. Dear me, somewhat disturbing tenacity of purpose. It is the only way to obtain a truly lifelike representation of the subject. And it has been my family secret for generations. Do you mean to say that beneath that mask? Oui. The true visage of the killer is there. This is ludicrous. It's out of the question. The professor spread terror throughout Great Britain. And as a result, the Madame Tusspell special exhibit remains extremely popular, even today. The killer emerging from his own grave. It is a sight to behold. You should come. I think, madam, it would be beneficial to hear your formal testimony on this matter. You will explain every detail of this macabre model and your personal involvement in its creation. With pleasure. Witness testimony. The professor's waxwork. The special exhibit in the House of Horrors is based on a rumour that shocked society in London. An impression that the visage was taken directly from the corpse in accordance with Tusspell's family principles. I enlisted the aid of the gravedigger and created a mould for the head in the cemetery just before the interment. I hid myself until he gave me a signal. I was there for a very long time that night. As dawn approached, I was very worried that I would be discovered. The gravedigger? The man sanctioned this? Oui. I will do all that is necessary to achieve the true resemblance my family is celebrated for. Nobody else knew. Only the gravedigger. What harm did it do? So you truly saw it. The face of that monster. Naturally, I was aware at the time that his identity was a secret. But Tusspells would not be Tusspells if we did not insist on absolute fidelity to our sculptures. I don't believe this. I myself have seen the special exhibit at your museum, madam. A truly blood-curdling scene in which the murderer is emerging from his own grave. The scene it depicts was the subject of many rumours in London 10 years ago. I have here a newspaper from the time. Interesting. The special exhibit was based upon the picture in this article. Yeah, but look at the signature right there. It was the most detailed account of what happened as reported by the eyewitness who saw it. Yeah, the 10-year-old article has been entered into the court record. The man rises from the grave. It's too absurd for words. Well, no, it's literally that, like, it says it right there in words. The public enjoy absurdity, monsieur. That is why I've reproduced the scene as carefully as possible in my museum. It's the waxwork from the exhibit that was stolen some days before the incident at the Great Exhibition, wasn't it? That is correct. The professor you see before you here. Most puzzling. Counsel for the defense, proceed with the cross-examination. This waxwork links Drebber to Dr. Scythe. And there has to be some reason for that, which hasn't yet come to light. But I'll find it. I'll get to the bottom of what really happened. I'll prove that Dr. Scythe and Drebber were in on this crime together. Cross-examination. The Professor Waxwork. Right, let's go through this. Hold on. Just think about this thing carefully. Right. So the special exhibition in the House of Horrors is based on a rumour that shocked society in London. And the impression of the visage was taken directly from the corpse in accordance with Tusspell family principles. I enlisted the aid of the gravedigger and created a mould from the head in the cemetery just before the interment. I hid myself until he gave a signal. I was there for a very long time that night. As dawn approached, I was very worried that I could be discovered. So, that's all I have to go on. And what's your feeling, Mr. Narahoda? For some reason, Dr. Saiv went along with Dr. Trevor's plan. Now, if that's really true, then the Professor is the only thing we know of that links the pair of them. So I feel sure that Waxwork must be a clue to this mystery somehow. In that case, we must use this cross-examination to uncover exactly what it means. Otherwise, the jurors are sure to revert their leanings, and the trial will be over. I agree. But interestingly, uncovering what the Professor has to do with all of this means more to Lord Van Zykes than anyone. That's the impression I'm getting anyway. Yes, as do I. After all, he has a profound connection to the Professor as well. Right, so I want to have a look at the evidence we just got here. Okay, it's like we've got the signature there, which I feel significance is like obviously it matches. So which you can go to the second page that way, like to the left rather than the right. But yeah, it matches that signature there. So why is that significant? The Great Stink. That was a thing, by the way. That was a thing, the Great Stink. Mad Sheep Rampage. Alright. So, the picture's pretty much going to come into it somewhere, isn't it? Because this does mean that a picture was taken. I don't know at this point. I'm gonna go just pressing everything because I don't know. I've got nothing to latch onto.
Hold it!
And that rumor would be a 10-year-old tale now, but one that no Londoner would ever forget. Right, I know just what you're talking about, I think. Of course, it couldn't be anything else. Yes, that story will never disappear. The tale of the condemned killer rising from the dead. That is the central attraction at my house of horrors. The rumor was whispered all over the city, and it was like this. It was a dark and dreary night. It was in Lowgate Cemetery, behind the prison, in the dead of night after the execution of the killer. It was the owl. The owl did it. Did what? I don't know. The interred professor slid back the stone slab covering his tomb and emerged from his grave. A young man who witnessed this felt a scream running up inside him. But an instant later, he heard an ear-splitting gunshot from over his shoulder. The bullet struck the emerging corpse, and he felt motionless once more. The scream finally found its way from the mouth of the young witness, who turned and ran for his life. Alright. The corpse climbed out of his own grave? And then somebody shot him. Who was it? Nobody knows, even today. And the guy who took the photograph for the... Alright. But remember, it was just a rumor. Perhaps nothing more than a ghost story. The good people of London, they love stories like this. That is why it was in every newspaper across the capital. But was it just a story? I mean, this is exactly the scene that can be seen today at your museum, isn't it? Oui, special exhibition was modelled on the very illustration. For a while afterwards, the contents of the article were reproduced in every newspaper imaginable. Madam, might I say something? Please go ahead, mademoiselle. When something is described as a rumour, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's entirely made up. I believe that often rumours contain elements of the truth. I see that people from the East can be just as astute as the people of Europe. Can we be sure, for instance, that the Professor's execution was successful? It is not possible for the dead to come back to life. Sorry? He didn't die. 10 years ago, I was there in Lowgate Cemetery. After the criminal known as the Professor was killed by hanging, I took a wax impression of his visage on the corpse just before he was interred. So I can assure you, the man was dead. I see. It would certainly appear that the condemned man suffered the intended fate. An impression of the visage was taken directly from the corpse in accordance with the Tusspell's family principles. Is that true of every waxwork in your museum, then? It is, assuming the subject is dead, of course. Live subjects have to cooperate in a similar way. I have letters from imprisoned criminals all the time, you know. What sort of letters? When my time comes, please make a waxwork of me. Comme ça. No. My museum is famous, monsieur. To be made into a waxwork is an honor, and for some criminals a symbol of status even. Because nothing says hardened criminal better than wax. And it is thanks to one killer in particular that my museum has gained such popularity in London. I refer to the star of the special exhibit, of course, the Professor, whose form you claim to have captured by taking an impression from the actual corpse. There are no exceptions to the principles of Tusspells. Alright, nothing there. I enlisted the aid of great vigor and created a mold at the head in the cemetery just before the interment. Surely that's illegal, isn't it? Well, yes. It would seem the proprietress of this repository of novelties was blinded by monetary greed. It had nothing to do with money. The man is a part of London's criminal history. This is what I had to sculpt him. That is why I had to sculpt him, to record this history. It is the raison d'etre of the Tusspell's museum. But if the man was convicted in a closed court and sent for immediate execution, then surely nobody but the members of the judiciary present know the killer's true identity. I assure you, behind the mask is in the true face of the Professor. Do you realize what you're saying? The Professor's identity is a national secret. I understand. And now that the truth about the special exhibit has been revealed, it must perhaps close. Of course it will. As will your entire museum if you don't tread very carefully, madam. That could be another interesting chapter in the history of my family, I think, don't you? So 10 years ago, on the night of the Professor's execution, you took a wax impression of his face from the corpse? Oui, exactement. Alright. I hid myself until he gave a signal. I was there for a very long time that night. Hold it! You were there longer than you expected to be. I had some difficulties in capturing the subject's form correctly. As I removed the mask, the mouth of the cadaver fell open and had some problems with the chin. Dare I ask? The man had been dead for a short while already, you see. His muscles were relaxing and consequently his chin will not align itself correctly. Oh dear, what a horrible thought. Under normal circumstances, I would have an assistant with me. However, that night I was alone, and as a consequence, I missed my preferred window of time. What do you mean? When I take the impression of the visage of a cadaver, I always wait until 3 hours after death. Why 3 hours? Is that amount of time significant? It is because of rigor mortis. Rigor mortis? It's the name given to a phenomenon that occurs in recently deceased bodies. As a rule, 3 hours post-death, the muscles in the body begin to stiffen. By approximately 10 hours post-death, the entire body is completely rigid and inflexible. And then from that point on, the muscles slowly start to revert to their relaxed state. The effect is often used to estimate the time of death when a body is discovered. Well, that was an education, if a slightly scary one. As the Mademoiselle says, rigor mortis commences 3 hours after death, and it starts in the jaw. I see. So that's why you wait. Oh, hold on. Do we have something about that somewhere? So if it's confirmed at midnight... I thought there was something about rigor mortis in this, but no. So we've got to go on, isn't it? So maybe the 3 hours is significant to the midnight then, though. Before that time, the mouth falls open, and it is very difficult to do my work. Ugh. It's getting hard for me to do my work with all this talk of corpses. I wonder about that information the courts just heard from Madame Tusspell's. Whoa! I was trying to go on to the next bit. Okay. The information about rigor mortis that you just shared with us. Would you mind including that in your formal testimony? I believe it could be significant, you see. Of course, I do not mind at all. Can't help feeling that after this latest topic, the atmosphere in the courtroom has become extremely grave. This is no time for jokes, Miss Susato. Madam, kindly amend your testimony as discussed. Bien, sir. It took me a very long time because it was before the onset of rigor mortis. Okay.
Hold it!
Rigor mortis being the phenomenon you described whereby the corpse becomes stiff after death. I think you said that it starts at the jaw about 3 hours post-death. Is that right? Oui. C'est ça? I don't know. Of course, the exact duration depends a little on the season. I didn't realize a waxwork artisan would be so well versed in the subject. No. And that is only elementary knowledge in the field of legal medicine. I had no idea about it, but maybe I won't admit to my ignorance about forensic science. I could ask my father to give me, and you, a very simple primer if you like. I think corpses should be your domain. I'm not good with them. Oh dear. I'll do my very best. As dawn approached, I was very worried that I could be discovered. Dawn approached. So what's all the timing on this? Is that midnight? Rumor. Impression the visage was taken directly from the corpse in accordance with Tusspell family principles. I enlisted the aid of the grave digger, created a mold for the head in the cemetery just before the internment. It took me a very long time because it was before the onset of rigor mortis. As dawn approached, I was very worried that I could be discovered.
Hold it!
You say that dawn was approaching. What's the time of day then, approximately? Well, I could not say. When I left the cemetery with my utensils and wax, the morning light was becoming very visible. The execution took place on the 17th of June, which had the earliest sunrise of that year. Let's look this up. Because it's like, yeah, like summer in the UK. Around that time, it is a case of we do get the sunrise very, very early. 17th of June, sunrise. Let's have a look here. 4:40 a.m. So yeah, we'll say about 4:30 just for simplicity's sake. So if it's about 4:30 a.m. I've got to go through the history now. You say dawn was approaching. Morning light was becoming visible. So you must have started about 1:30. Which doesn't quite line up. Indeed it did. First light would have been around 4:40 in the morning. Just, there you go. That really is early. It really is. The fact is, I had very little time, so I finished my work in half an hour. What? It was necessary to complete the impression and bury the body before daybreak, of course. If somebody had discovered me there, it would have been a catastrophe, so I had to hurry. Is it me, or does Mr. Shlom seem to be taking shape more quickly now, too? You certainly appear to go extraordinary lengths for your work, madam. I wonder, is what she just said particularly significant? Yeah, the time of day seems very odd here. Very odd. Madam, those details about how long it took you to complete the sculpture and the early sunrise. Could you include them in your testimony? I believe they may be significant. Of course, if you would like me to. You're quite right, Mr. Naruhodo. It is intriguing. Sunrise at 4 in the morning. Would be absolutely unimaginable at home, wouldn't it? It's not quite what I meant by significant. It's strange how like the opposite at the moment. Like let me get where right. Sunrise. Like UK at the moment. Pretty much 8 AM. Pretty much. That's how different it is between summer and winter. It's 4 hours for the morning. You gotta think it happens the other side as well. Very, very short days in winter. Very short days. Anyway. Kindly amend your formal testimony then, madam. With pleasure, my lord. I hurried to finish my work in the half hour before sunrise and left as soon as the corpse was interred. But rigor mortis would have set in, which is something you were trying to avoid. Confirmed at midnight. Right, so I'm going to end this part here, and I think we found the opening now, haven't we? This whole thing of the rigor mortis is an issue. So we'll see about that in the next part. Ta-da for now.